volts, which suggests that there's another 0.5 drop in the somewhere in the connectors, because all the time when you do these wires and put them together, a bad twist or bad coupling will give you a voltage increase. But they saw that the ratio is basically 2-to-1 ratio, and so basically they learned that Ohm's law was linear in the case of no capacitors or inductors. And so I think, if nothing else, it was a good lesson for them to see that the direct relationship between resistance and a linear path in DC power.
I guess they're going to have to learn from their mistakes so they can keep going next year.
Well, next year maybe they'll give themselves a little bit longer one. The other thing they can do is they can use a larger gauge of wire. So with using a larger gauge of wire, that actually reduces the reduction of the power.
Less resistance.
Yes, because, or you can also go for, you can step up your battery a little bit. But are they limited to 12-volt batteries only?
No, you can go up to 48.
Yeah, so the other thing they can do...
Actually, you can go up a little higher, because we
Right.
figured out a 48-volt battery really is,
Too much.
if it's fully charged, no, it's like 52 or something.
Right.
You know,
So
like 12-volt
But
batteries.
if they use
are
two packs back to back, they could
Yeah.
use a really long tether, and then they could use a smaller resistance. But that's part of the game. Is you got to balance it so it's got enough power to drive your camera and the rest of your equipment. Otherwise, some of these cameras will start to cut out if they drop below a certain voltage threshold. I'm an electrical engineer, and so I love that kind of stuff. But they hadn't quite done the math yet. But we talked about it. They understood the linear relationship, and a little gleam in their eyes. I could see that that's what sparks an interest to go learn the math, because now you understand. You do the math. You're going to calculate how long your tether needs to be or could be at a certain battery, given it's going to drop so much per gauge of wire, per length of wire. And that's part of what this experience, especially the younger kids, is to learn the relationship between math and science so they can build a better robot.
I know Maria, and I think two of those freshmen, it's another program they have, Carl Hayden, that they have their ham radio licenses.
Awesome.
So to pass the test, you have to know Ohm's law and all that. But it's like a lot of the school learning. You can learn it, you can pass the test, doesn't mean anything.
Well, isn't Ohm's law when you meditate and you go, Om, Om?
That's Ohm's suggestion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's things like this that, now it makes sense. That's
Ohm.
right.
Oh my gosh.
We were talking about that earlier today. As part of the JIT, we were trying to recruit younger students, younger female students, and so we can get them hooked on technology. So when they get into high school, right off the bat, they'll just start off. And when we first started talking to one of the girls, I was trying to explain all the electrical components, and today she's like, oh, so that's what it was for, and everything. She's like, that's why we learned that in class. Oh.
Yeah, it really makes all the difference when, especially in the younger people, when they see a little spark in their eyes and they finally get that the relationship between math and science, that in school you have to learn like seemingly unrelated equations. And for myself in college, like learning about motors and fields and waves and how the alternator works and how the generator works, and understand the the whole inductance and you get the calculus behind it. So you have this you have the power leading the voltage, or the voltage leading the power, depending on how it's built and what kind of motors. Induction motors, you have many different types of motors, and some are voltage based, some are frequency based, and you change one variable and you burn up the motor because you've made the imbalance in voltage or imbalance in frequency, and therefore the delta gets consumed by resistance. When you understand this, it's awesome, because you can take these things apart and play with them as a kid, but then when you understand the math behind it, it makes it a very powerful relationship.
Well, it's both. If you have the knowledge, at least the theory, you've been taught that. But then when you get the experience of doing it, then it comes together. Then you can feel it. Then you internalize it. We have about 8 minutes left.
Where'd you leave your friend? Oh, they got to compete. Okay, good. Good that you're not distracting him. He did his math homework right before earlier? That's what I hear. Thank you.
If you have another question, I have another prize.
I want to know what's the value of pi. What is the value of pi? No. I mean pi.
Backwards.
Value of pi. Like I think lemon pi is much better than, say,
We could do it to who can recite the value of pi
It's
to the
greatest
greatest
number of digits
precision.
without looking at the calculator.
Except for I don't know, how far can you go?
I can go about 9 digits. But I have a very simple algorithm for memorizing pi.
I don't think the freshmen heard you when you said that all those little particles in the water were dead bacteria, because they think there's fishes in the water.
Admiral, there'll be whales here. Well, they're only dead from a certain point of view. I mean, I think some are probably still alive, but, the chlorine has them, kind of somewhat down right now. They're in incubation. One thing's for sure, if you ever go up in the mountains, sometimes people go up and drink out of the stream. I know I've done it before. And there's something called giardia, and it's a result of. It sounds really gross, but if the deer are upstream and they urinate in the water, giardia is it's kind of like it's an incubating little parasite, and it gets in your stomach, and you might be back from backpacking maybe a couple weeks later, and all of a sudden this thing just goes off, explodes in your stomach. I mean, your stomach explodes, but it starts just laying all the eggs, and it starts breeding your stomach, and you get dehydrated, and you're going to die. And some people can never, get it out of their bodies. But mostly, they do recover, but it's like anything. It's a very bad experience. So whenever you're out there and you don't have chlorinated water or something to purify, like a good set of really very small micron filters, don't drink the water. Unless you're going to actually die. It's your last choice. Well, then you're going to die anyway. Might as well die, and then you'll die a horrible death in 2 weeks anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Well, it's not horrible. Just die pooping yourself to death, basically. So dying death by parasites.
No, I mean, what was that?
What a lovely subject.
Are you sure?
But seriously, they sell these filters. They use these little, like 20 micron filters, and you basically run the water through a little pump, and it gives you, the water may not taste good, but it's going to have the microorganisms out of there. So, taste isn't everything, but you want to stay alive. Living is important, I think, especially if you have something to contribute. Especially if you've done the math. See, it's always sad when a great mathematician dies or a great scientist dies, because the investment, the loss to the planet is incredible. And not to say it's not sad when anyone else dies. It's always sad when people die. But there's some people that can truly change the world. And those of you here, these students here today, are that subset of people which I believe can change the world. You got to go out there and be the best you can be. Study as much as you can, because when you become the best at something, and it might not always be engineering, you could be the best poet, the best singer, the best musician, the best writer. You'll have your moment of fame where you can go before people and you can actually communicate and talk about things that are important, and that's when you can talk about saving the world or saving the planet. These are things that are when you are excellence, and so that's why I say this, because not everyone's going to become an engineer. I would love for everyone to become an engineer, only because I think math is awesome. But some people math is not for them. So then, whatever you do in life, pursue excellence. Be the best that you can be, because that's when you are the best at something, you've done everything you can do. You command attention, and people will listen to you. This guy's like eating food right in my mic.
Want some goop?
No.
Oh, I just thought of a great question.
We're at 0. I think we're at -5.
You can play in this one if you want.
All right, we're giving out prizes here. We want to know who can. One question: how many prizes do you have left? 1 or 2? Who can, without using your calculator, who can recite the pi to the most digits? How many digits is that? Somebody count. Okay, somebody count. Go on. Start again. What?
Pi to the most.
That was 14 digits. 14. Can you do more than 14
Okay,
digits?
we have one person that can do pi to 14
Anybody
digits.
else?
Say hi to the 8.
Anybody over there?
Or hi to Nessa. Go for it.
Is he out there? He's competing?